The salt spray stung Ilara's face as she gripped the railing of the ferry, the churning waves a chaotic mirror reflecting the turmoil inside her. Hidden beneath the oversized sunglasses and a scarf pulled tight around her face wasn't just a woman trying to escape the wind. It was a woman escaping a life she no longer recognized, a life stained with the bitter green of jealousy. She was running from Daniel. Daniel, her husband, her love, the man who had slowly, insidiously become the source of her deepest pain. It had started subtly, whispers disguised as concern. Her burgeoning photography career, something she poured her heart and soul into, had become the target. Are you sure you can handle that commission, Ilara? It's a lot of traveling. And the house. Don't you think that dress is a little revealing for the gallery opening? I just worry about people getting the wrong impression. Each comment, a tiny pinprick, slowly deflating her confidence. But the real venom had dripped in when Sarah, a young, vibrant artist, joined Ilara's photography group. Sarah was everything Ilara felt she was losing. Carefree, passionate, and effortlessly captivating. Daniel was instantly smitten, his eyes lingering a fraction too long, his laughter a shade too bright whenever Sarah was near. The jealousy, a monstrous vine, had choked the love out of their marriage. Ilara saw Sarah everywhere. In Daniel's phone notifications, in the casual mention of lunch with a colleague, in the increasingly empty space beside her in their bed. The final blow came during a gallery showing of Ilara's work. Daniel hadn't even bothered to show up. He texted a curt "Drinks with Sarah, good luck," leaving Ilara to navigate the evening alone. The humiliation, a burning brand on her soul, she'd packed a bag that night, leaving a note explaining she needed space, a chance to breathe, a chance to rediscover the woman she used to be before Daniel's jealousy, disguised as love, had suffocated her. The ferry docked at Havenwood Island, a small windswept speck off the mainland coast. Ilara, feeling raw and exposed, trudged off the boat, a small suitcase her only companion. Havenwood was known for its rugged beauty, its artist's colony, and its quiet solitude. It was supposed to be her sanctuary, but Havenwood harbored its own secrets. As Ilara settled into her rented cottage, a charming, albeit slightly dilapidated structure overlooking the churning sea, she began to notice things. Whispers in the local cafe, guarded glances, an undercurrent of unease that seemed to cling to the island like the salt spray. One day, while exploring the rocky coastline, she stumbled upon a hidden cove. A child's brightly colored bucket lay abandoned near the water's edge. A pang of unease shot through her. She called out, her voice thin against the crashing waves. No response. Days turned into weeks, and the mystery of the missing child, a 5-year-old named Leo, hung heavy in the air. The island community was fractured. Accusations flew, fueled by fear and suspicion. The local sheriff, a weary man named Thomas, seemed overwhelmed. Ilara, initially withdrawn and focused on her own healing, found herself drawn into the search. She couldn't shake the image of that abandoned bucket, the feeling of helplessness. She started by offering to take photographs of the search efforts, hoping to raise awareness. During one of her photography sessions, she captured an image that sent a chill down her spine. A blurry figure lurking in the shadows near the woods. A figure that seemed unnervingly familiar. It was Finn, the gruff, reclusive fisherman who lived on the outskirts of the island. Finn had always been an outcast, a target for the island's petty bullies. Rumors swirled about his troubled past, his violent temper. He was the obvious suspect, the perfect scapegoat for the island's anxieties. Driven by a nagging doubt, Ilara decided to investigate. She remembered a crumpled drawing Leo had made, found clutched in his mother's hand. It depicted a boat with a distinctive blue stripe. Ilara knew Finn's boat had a similar stripe. Following her intuition, she ventured out to Finn's isolated cabin. The air was thick with the smell of fish and brine. As she peered through a grimy window, she saw something that stopped her heart. A small, brightly colored toy truck, identical to the one Leo always carried. Convinced she had found the kidnapper, Ilara raced back to town, relaying her suspicions to Sheriff Thomas. But Thomas, swayed by public opinion and eager for a quick resolution, was already preparing to arrest Finn. Ilara knew she had to act fast. She decided to confront Finn herself, hoping to understand his motives, perhaps even to find Leo. She found Finn sitting on his porch, cleaning his fishing nets, his face etched with weariness. He looked up, startled as Elara approached. Finn, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I know about Leo. Finn's eyes widened, his grip tightening on the net. He didn't deny it. Instead, he began to speak, his voice low and raspy, revealing a story far more complex than the island gossip had suggested. He explained that he had seen Leo wandering alone near the cliffs, dangerously close to the edge. He had taken the child back to his cabin, intending to call the sheriff. But Leo, frightened and confused, had begged him not to. Leo's parents, he explained, were constantly fighting, their shouts echoing through their small house. He just wanted to protect the child. Elara, listening intently, sensed the truth in his words. She asked about the toy truck. Finn explained that Leo had given it to him as a thank you. Together, Elara and Finn formulated a plan. They would bring Leo back to the town square not as a kidnapper and victim, but as a man who had protected a vulnerable child and a community that had misunderstood him. The next morning, they walked into the town square, Leo nestled in Finn's arms, his face pale but unharmed. The crowd gasped, a mixture of relief and confusion washing over their faces. The truth, when it came out, was a shock to everyone. Leo's parents, confronted with their own neglect and the community's judgment, finally acknowledged their problems and sought help. Finn, exonerated, was slowly welcomed back into the community. His gruff exterior remained. But beneath it, Elara saw a man capable of profound kindness. As for Elara, Havenwood had become more than just a refuge. It was a place where she had found her voice, her courage, and a renewed sense of purpose. She still felt the sting of Daniel's jealousy, but it no longer defined her. She was stronger, more resilient. One evening, as she stood on the beach, watching the sunset paint the sky in vibrant hues, she received a text message. It was from Daniel. Elara, I miss you. I was wrong. I'm getting help. A tear rolled down her cheek, not of sadness, but of hope. She wasn't sure what the future held, but she knew one thing. She wouldn't let anyone dim her light again. She had found her strength in the heart of a storm, and she was ready to face whatever came next, with her head held high, her spirit unbroken. The salt spray no longer stung. It felt like a cleansing, a fresh start. The ocean, once a symbol of her turmoil, now whispered of possibilities, of healing, of a future where jealousy no longer cast its long, dark shadow. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hope, and Elara, breathing deeply, knew she was finally free. The positive note was that she became strong enough to leave behind the man who was trying to suppress her, and she was ready to face life with a positive outlook